All right, here we are, continuing solving polynomial equations by factoring. Um, and so sometimes when you see these problems, notice that there's no x to the third and no x. Sometimes you'll see folks substitute y in for x squared and rewrite this as 2y squared minus y minus 3 equals 0. And you can certainly do that. I think it's probably a good idea to get in habit of not needing to do this, but being able to factor even if it's still x to the fourth. If you're not quite there yet, then please do substitute in the y, and then at the end substitute x squared back in. But let's go ahead and approach this problem just as it's written. So we've got 2x to the fourth. What's going to multiply to give us 2 times negative 3? So what's going to multiply to give us negative 6, but add to give us negative 1? And our answer is going to be the negative 3 and positive 2. And so that's what this middle term is going to break up into. And so we're going to have 2x to the fourth minus 3x squared plus 2x squared minus 3 equals 0. And now we can solve by grouping. So what can I factor out of these two terms? Well, I can factor out x squared. And so I'll end up with x squared times 2x squared minus 3. And then what can I factor out of these two terms? Well, just a 1. So plus 1 times 2x squared minus 3. And that gives me the same terms here. And so I'm able to now factor out by grouping. So I end up with x squared plus 1, x squared plus 1 times what do we got here? 2x squared minus 3 equals 0. Okay, and now from here we'll need to solve each of these. Now these are each going to be quadratic factors, and so we've got some tools for that. For the one here on the left, the x squared plus 1. Let me actually make this page a little bit bigger. All right, now we got a little more room. X squared plus 1 say equal to 0, so we'll subtract 1 from each side. And we have x squared equals negative 1. Take the square root of both sides and end up with x equals positive and negative I. And now we'll also take 2x squared minus 3, set it equal to 0. Add 3 to each side and have 2x squared equals 3. Divide each side by 2. Have x squared equals 3 halves. Take the square root of each side and end up with x equals, what's that going to be? Plus or minus the square root of 3 over the square root of 2. Now we don't want the square root on the bottom, so we got in the denominator, so we multiply both the top and the bottom by the square root of 2, and we end up with plus or minus, so positive or negative, square root of 6 over 2. And there's our answer. So let's bring those on back. So plus or minus I and plus or minus 6, square root of 6 over 2. And there's our solution. So x equals I, negative I, the square root of 6 over 2, and negative root 6 over 2. All right, hope that helped.